Hello, everybody, and I hope everybody's doing well. And let's just show you, I've got Penny in my lap right now. So we'll see how this goes. She decided she was going to join me this afternoon. I have absolutely no idea how this is going to work, but we'll work on it. And the screen looks funny. I hope it's coming through okay, but then hopefully, you're not listening or watching this to see what I do as much as you're listening to what I say. So hopefully what goes on the screen doesn't work or doesn't matter. But let's try this and see what happens anyway. Okay. Hi there. So what we're going to do today is a quote, and I looked for this and I have absolutely no idea who said it. I looked for it and searched for it and there's nothing and I don't know. I'm guessing I got it out of a book, but I have no idea. I can tell I've had the quote for a while. And for those of you who wonder, I brought one along. This is one of my boxes. I've got a ton of quotes in there. This is a basic index card box, and that's just one of them. I've got at least 2 or 3 other ones. So when I say it's been around, it's been around. So anyway, moving right along. Boredom is self-imposed. We control the triggers that make us feel bored. This means that we can develop strategies to help us conquer our boredom and thereby overcome our impulse and therefore overcome our impulse to procrastinate. So let me do that one more time. Boredom is self-imposed. We control the triggers that make us feel bored. That means we can develop strategies to help us conquer our boredom and thereby overcome our impulses to procrastinate. And so I was thinking about that. I don't think it's necessarily just boredom. If you've ever done anything and you felt like, oh, I'm just so tired, I'm so sleepy, I can't keep my eyes open, or I'm just so whatever. The thing about it is are we really? I know with boredom, and especially with tired, I've been in a situation in which I've said that I was so tired I couldn't study, except for the fact that I could get up and go do something else for 30 minutes and I feel perfectly fine. If you've ever done that with boredom or sleepiness. Now, if you're tired and you find out that, 2 hours later that you've got your faces in a book and you've got a line, from the book on your face, okay, then you were probably too tired to study. But in many cases, we find ourselves that we get bored or tired or whatever it is because we just don't want to do whatever it is we do. This is, to some degree, at least in my opinion anyway, our brain's way of, I don't know necessarily, I don't know if I want to use the word protecting us, of basically saying, you don't want to do this. This is going to get you into trouble. This is going to have some other consequences. So you don't want to do this. So in a sense, let's say studying, or if you've got some major task that you have to work on, something that you're trying to, I don't know, get ready to move and you've got to clean out the house or some such thing like that. Then you say, I'm too tired to do this. I'm too bored. Well, not bored to clean out the house. Well, yeah, I guess you could be bored to clean out the house. I could do that. And many times that's just a case of our brain telling us that we don't want to do it, and it's looking for other reasons to do something else. But we control those things. We decide whether we're bored or not. Again, and I said this before, the item itself, the action, the behavior, the instance itself is not the generation of the boredom. So you could be bored watching a movie and somebody else is totally excited about it. You could be at some kind of concert or some kind of show on television or live performance or some such thing like that, and you'd be totally bored silly and somebody else is not. The show itself is not the thing that's generating the activity. It's your reaction toward it. You are, for whatever reason, looking at something from the standpoint that, gee, I'm sleepy, I'm bored, or basically it is, I don't want to do this. Does that make sense? I mean, how many times have you had the situation in which you've gotten too bored to study or too bored to do something that you needed to do? Especially at this time of year, I'm too bored, I'm too tired, I'm too exhausted to do my taxes right now. Except you get up and you go do something else and you're perfectly fine 30 minutes later. Does that ring a bell with anybody? So this is where the quote's coming from, in the sense that we are generating these activities. If you're feeling bored or tired, you also have the ability to take a look at whatever that activity is and turn that around and have another reaction to it. You can maybe say, I don't like doing this, but it's something I want to get done, so I want to get it over and done with. That's a perfectly good option. And then you get it done and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Because the thing about it is, if you're going to say that I'm bored or tired or sick or whatever, and you don't do it, you're still having to look forward to doing it again later. And if you think about it, how many times have you had those activities, whatever it is, now that I've mentioned it, maybe it's doing taxes, maybe it's cleaning the house, maybe it's studying for something that you've got a test to do. And every time you get ready to study for it, you suddenly become overwhelmed with fatigue or whatever. Because you're now looking at that particular activity with the idea of, I don't want to do this. And so your brain says, okay, boredom got me away from this last time, so let's get bored again. You have the ability to take a look at that item and say, am I really bored? If you're really bored, could you go do something else and not be bored? Is it the activity, or is it something about that activity that you just don't want to do? Now, this works better for what I just said, is if you're fatigued, and tell yourself you're fatigued. If you're saying, I'm just too tired to do this, can you walk away and be perfectly fine 10 minutes later if you're doing something else? Then it's not that you're fatigued, it's just you didn't want to do that particular item. So that you have the ability, whether or not you believe it or not, you do have the ability to control how you react to these incidences and either get them done or postpone them or do something else. So that's where the procrastination comes in. If you get bored, oh, I'm bored, I don't want to do this. It's, you can find another way of doing something about that. You can take a look at it from a different angle. You can take some time to figure out what's a way of going about this that's not boring. Am I really bored, or is it just that I'm telling myself this because I don't want to do it? Even if you don't like it, you could just basically say, I don't like doing this, but it needs to be done, so let's get it over and done with. And then just do it. So when many times we've got that with boredom, with sleepiness, to even the degree of procrastination, I'm procrastinating on something because you don't want to do it. To some degree, that's going to be your brain basically saying, I don't want to do this, and I procrastinated before and it worked, and so I didn't have to do it, so let's try this again. Because your brain's really insistent on that way if you haven't figured that one out. Maybe you don't recognize it for yourself, but watch other people, especially small children. They will suddenly get hurt. How many of you have ever had, especially those of you with parents of small children, suddenly they're hurt or they're sick about something that, 10 minutes later when they've got the option to go outside, suddenly they feel real good again. It's a little bit more obvious when you're a little child like that, but adults do the same thing. Okay? So that you might want to just start thinking in terms of, when you have those negative reactions, what's the cause of it? Is it just deep in the idea that you don't want to do this? And if so, do you really need to get it done? Why are you having to do it in the first place? Wouldn't it be better to just get it done and over with so you didn't have to face it again? Because in many cases, if you can get the idea that, okay, I'm bored, I don't like doing this is really, doesn't thrill me in the least little bit, wouldn't it be easier to just get it over and done with and not have to worry about it? Let's take taxes. Most of us aren't exactly thrilled about doing taxes, but isn't it easier just to get it over and done with and finished, instead of having it hang over your head and then end up doing it, perhaps for some people, like late on the afternoon of the day that it's got to be submitted? So you're procrastinating, but tell yourself or ask yourself, wouldn't you rather have it past tense, done, finished? Which one's going to be worse for you? Boredom, or the fact that you're going to have to do something later when it may actually be worse, when maybe you do have to do it, but then things are going to be worse for you? Wouldn't you rather do it now when you've got the opportunity to do it, rather than when you get crunched for time? Or then you're going to say, well, I do my best work. Are you? Or are you just using that as an excuse? Just think about that. I hope this was helpful and gave you something to think about, and we'll chat with you later about this or any other kind of thought. So if you want to add something else to my quote box, feel free. I collect quotes, obviously, if I've got that one box. So anyway, share this with somebody else and let me know what you think, and we will chat with you later. Bye.